Okay, so this is the second time I'm going to record this video. The Amber Spyglass. This one is the final one in Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials series, and all I can really say about this one is that I enjoyed it. I liked the new introduction and the bits and pieces that were added, but it kind of fell flat in terms of ending. Before I get into the review, let me just explain how I'm going to do this. My general overview will be about just what I think, the bits and pieces, and just a spoiler-free kind of review. Then I'll take 5 chapters, I'll break them down, what I like about them, what I don't, and then I will give a final conclusion to the whole thing, and then a score out of 100. As I've said in previous reviews, I used to use a 5-star review, but I found that doesn't give enough in terms of letting me differentiate between different books. So instead of having just a load of 4 stars or 5-star reviews, I can give one book 86 and one 82, say. And so we can see that one's slightly better than the other one for reasons I thought made sense. Okay. Don't forget, I stream over on Twitch. If you go follow me over there and ring the bell so you get notifications when I go live. At the minute I've not been streaming a lot because I've been trying to get this YouTube content out first. But once that's up, once I've got this working in a proper schedule that I can sort out, I will then start going back to Twitch and streaming on there. So feel free to go check me out over there. Okay, so my general overview of the book. I'm going to give a short mini review here, but I won't give any spoilers or anything. So if you'd like to just stick for this part, I'm going to just give a little bit of a review now. It will be quite short. So, okay, so this book does a decent job of wrapping up the loose ends and providing a satisfying conclusion to the characters of Will and Lyra. The length of the book itself is a good thing. I didn't like how the previous novels were quite short and they kind of skimmed past scenes, especially some good scenes. They went too quickly over, and so I feel like this one, as being a longer novel, spent a bit more time on those important scenes and a bit more on the character development, which I really liked. However, in trying to wrap up this trilogy, it introduced a lot of new things in order to do so, which I felt kind of devalues things that comes before it, because the fact that it needed so much new stuff to finish the series, when really things should have already been set up in maybe the second novel. So I'm going to take 5 chapters and break them down, and the first one we're going to look at is a chapter called Mary Alone. This chapter introduces a new world that consists of these creatures that have wheels. It's a bit weird. They I don't know how to describe them. They're like diamond shaped, and they have one at the front, one at the back that are wheels. They're not actually, the wheels themselves are like sap pods, like seed pods that they use. But the pods themselves, they have a wheel on the front, one on the back, and then 2 legs on the side that they use to push themselves along. And it's very weird, but these help describe the importance of dust and why it should be protected by creating these innocent creatures, as well as these creatures become a key part in teaching Mary and subsequently the reader about the connection with dust and the rest of the world, really. These creatures are supposed to illustrate the fact that there's different worlds, and basically how one world differentiates from another by the smallest of things. So this one, it was how evolution went a different way. For example, in our world, the evolution involving the spine was a key thing. So most beings now have a spine in order to keep themselves upright, whereas these animals didn't have that, and with their evolution, what succeeded was the diamond-shaped body, which is what most of the things have in that world. So the next chapter I'm going to talk about is called The Break. Within this chapter, they finally bring back the character of Lyra, who's been kept asleep by Miss Coulter throughout the beginning of the novel. I don't know how long, because the novel before ended with her, Lyra being like gone. You didn't know where, and here you find that Miss Coulter's been keeping her asleep in a cave, to try and hide her from the people trying to like take her back, basically. Will rescues Lyra within this chapter with the help of an angel called Balthamos, who previously had them. They're like, there's two angels. There's Balthamos and Barak, I think. Balak, I can't remember. But basically, they found a way into the kingdom of heaven or whatever it is, and they found that Metaton, which is the authority's like regent, it's like their representative basically, they found him, and so they thought if they bring the will and the knife to Azrael, they might help defeat this like regent. So they're with Will, and Barak went off and ended up dying, but Balthamos is still with Will, and Balthamos tried to help but ends up fleeing because he's a bit of a coward, really. But also Will, on the way to Lyra, recruits Yorick Bernison, who I thought was one of the more better written characters in the first novel, and that was kind of the reason I wasn't too keen on the second one, because they left out characters such as him who I thought were very well done, and so that's what I liked. I like this one because it brings him back into the kind of scenes, and I really like his character basically. And yeah, so this chapter is good because it reintroduces some earlier characters which I really like, and I like the scenes of Azrael and his army and the Magisterium coming in to fight each other to try and get Lyra, who Will and Yorick Bernison are trying to save under the noses of both of them and get her out before any of this affects them. So the next chapter I'm going to talk about is called The Harpies. So this one I'm going to talk about not just that chapter, but this whole scene. And in this, when Lyra has been asleep, she's been hearing Roger, and from this she discovers that she thinks they can travel to the world of the dead using Will's knife. And they do that, which is weirdly like easy in terms of things. They open up a world to where they find a dude dead in dead in his like kitchen, and then they go open up another portal, one other thing to another world, and they find the dude alive, but he's like pale and cold, and then he realizes that they've just accidentally stumbled upon the world of the dead, which I thought was a bit easy, but then again, the focus here is in a bit, which I'll talk about. To then get to the world of the dead, they have to take a boat across over there, and the person on the boat, the kind of person that rows the boat back, says that they have to leave their demons behind. So Will obviously, when the boat leaves Will's demon, Will feels like something has left him. So obviously he can't see his demon, but it's there and it leaves him. But Lyra has to then leave her demon, leave Pan, which they kind of make a big deal out of. The only issue with this is that in I think it's the first novel, when they're talking about the fact that Pan is pulling at their connection, Lyra becomes tense and like, I think the best word for it is like torn. She becomes angry and kind of agitated about the whole thing. And they talk about this feeling as she leaves Pan, and then suddenly it's like she says the connection is still there, but she just doesn't feel those emotions anymore, which I felt was a bit annoying, really. I felt that kind of undermines that whole relationship they've kind of built up between those two. And so I felt that there really should have been more of that continuing through until she reunites with Pan, as well as maybe some decisions she makes that, based on those like emotions she's feeling, so some bad decisions that happen. because so far there's not been a lot of that. I like the decision not to bring people back from the dead, because that would have been an easy option to create a way in which people can come back, and then it would kind of undermine some of the other stuff. But instead, what happens is they convince the Harpies to lead them to a place where they can open a gate back into the real world. And in doing so, people have to tell them their stories, because that's what the Harpies feed on. They have to tell them their stories as they travel to this gate. But going through this gate doesn't bring them back to life. What it means is people can then become part of, can disapparate into dust basically, and become part of this world, and just be free. It's kind of, which I thought was quite nice. Although some of the characters do stay behind, and then they come through when the battle's in place, and they help in the battle for a bit, and then they end up having to, obviously, because they can't stay in their form for long, so they end up separating like the rest of them. But they help in this final battle. The next chapter I'm going to talk about is called Saint Jean le You. I don't know how to say it because it's French. I'm not very good at French. All I can really say about this chapter is, what the hell is going on? It's a really weird chapter. It's not really weird. It's just I feel it's bad. I'm gonna have to say it. I just don't like this chapter. In this, the Magisterium introduced this bomb that can kill anyone, but for it they need the person's hair to be able to kill them. And as it so happens, Miss Coulter's been cutting off Lyra's hair when she's been in that cave and keeping it in a locket. Not that she's been part of this, because she doesn't want them to kill Lyra, and she tries to hide this locket. But they then steal the hair and use it to put into this bomb. And then Miss Coulter tries to stop the bomb from going off, which she fails in doing so. But then she believes that Lyra's dead. But the next chapter that has Lyra in it, which is I'm pretty sure it's the next chapter. They've got Lyra, and Will's father sees that Lyra's got some hair missing, and says to Will, "I'll cut it off at the root." And so he does that, and he's open a portal to another world. He puts the hair in there, closes it up, and then the bomb goes off, which detonates that hair, and it creates this massive abyss in the world of the dead, which is just a way to show that dust is leaving into nothing, basically, and not really much happens. Basically, this chapter does some weird things. It introduces a bomb very quickly, which I thought, if you've had that the whole time, why are we only just now learning about it? The fact that Miss Coulter just happens to have Lyra's hair, and the bomb needs hair. The fact the bomb goes off but then doesn't do anything, it creates this abyss which just means nothing. And then I thought maybe it's the fact that it's supposed to create this guilt in Miss Coulter that Lyra's dead, but then literally straight away she consults the alethiometrist or whatever and is told that she's still alive. So this chapter is, I found you can easily remove this chapter and it not make much of a difference. Well, it's kind of two chapters. I think there's one before where she gets captured and then she learns about the bomb, and then the second one they go to the place where the bomb is, and then that whole scene. I felt they could have just removed those. They don't really play a big part in. The only thing they really do is just show that Miss Coulter is changed, and that she's trying to help, save Lyra, and she actually cares now. But yeah, other than that, it's a bit unneeded. Okay, so the next chapter I'm going to talk about is called Authority's End. This is the final few chapters of the book, which I'm going to talk about here. And in this, they attempt to fight the Authority's representative, who we talked about earlier, the Regent, or otherwise known as Metaton. In this, Miss Coulter deceives Metaton by convincing him that she wants to be with him, and then also to fight Azrael in single-hand combat. Then, as they're fighting, Miss Coulter joins in and helps Azrael pin the regent, pin Mettaton, and stop him from flying and drag him down off the edge of this like cliff face, with them all three of them then perishing. I felt this was weird because both Azriel and Miss Coulter sacrificed themselves for Lyra, because previously they state, before this, that the whole reason they've been doing this is to stop them, to get rid of this and keep Dust alive in order to make a better world for Lyra, which is very weird because of the way that both Azriel and Miss Coulter talk about Lyra and how they like mistreat her and all this, but then it's like, oh yeah, no, we still like her. We're trying to make her this world a better place for her, but we also call like a spoiled brat and hit her and things. I just don't. I felt their kind of redemption here was just unrewarded, and it just didn't make any sense. And I felt there needed to be more kind of progression in their character. So I felt most characters in this book, their character progression was well done, or at least decent, whereas this one just felt a bit wrong. Okay, so my final analysis. The novel does a great job of finishing off the running narrative that's taking place over the past few books. Nobody here has been altered too much or too heavily that they seem different, and their character arcs are alright, other than I said a minute ago, Azriel's and Miss Coulter's, which I felt were a bit weird. Miss Coulter's better, but Azriel's didn't make any sense at all. Characters such as the Egyptians are completely removed from this book, except for the last chapter, I think. Which is annoying because I like those characters. They were built up in a great way in the first book and then just completely left, which is really annoying. My favourite characters within this were Will and Lyra. I felt that their development was very well written and they weren't forced towards a conclusion that didn't make any sense. However, the issue with this book is that it focuses on ending a trilogy, and in doing so it introduces a load of new features which instantly, as I said earlier, devalues anything and makes it seem very unplanned, because they had to use so much new stuff to find a way to end the book rather than stuff that had been set up previously. On top of this, not all strings are attached. For example, the connection between Miss Coulter and her demon, how it's even said in the first one, how Lyra's unaware how they're managed to be so far apart. This goes unexplained, and I even had to, after I finished the book, I went online to search to see if I'd missed a point, so I looked online, and apparently no, that's not explained at all, which annoys me. As well as Mary Malone, she consults Dust and tells her to stay on this world with these weird creatures with the wheels, because Lyra and Will come to her, which they do. But it says to wait for them and be the serpent. And as the books themselves are very like aimed at being like not biblical but like anti-religion kind of. But I thought, oh, maybe being the serpent means she's supposed to tempt Lyra, or just tempt them into something, and Lyra's got to make some kind of decision, which doesn't happen. Mary plays no part in the ending. She just informs them of Dust, and that's really it. She doesn't really do anything, and any decisions thereon are just Lyra's decisions, and nothing seemed of like any importance. It's all just, we've just got to stop Dust from escaping. That's very weird. I understand the ending, and the whole scenes with her and Will at the end makes sense, and then it ends with them both being on their own worlds, not being able to see each other, which I guess is just a kind of... I felt the ending was alright there, but I don't get... I guess there's no real... They try to create a life after the books for Lyra, and all that is for her to rediscover how to use the alethiometer, because she's now lost this power. Which I felt was just a bit weird, because, like, it's going to take... I guess it's the only thing she can really do from here, because there's nothing else that's been set up for her to then do after the novels. I felt that... I don't know if that bit was needed. I felt like they should just have It was more of just the fact that creating a more happier ending than what was happening at that time. But anyway, I gave this book a score of 70 out of 100. I felt it was a great book, but it didn't live up to the expectation. I thought I was looking for some kind of ending that I didn't get, and it fell a bit flat for me. Don't forget, I stream over on Twitch, so go over there, ring the bell, so you'll get notified when I next go live. If you'd like to speak to me or any others about the books or anything else in general, we've got the Discord channel. I'll leave a link for that in the description down below. And I'll also leave a link down there for you to buy the book if you'd like to. If you've got anything to say, let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Over there will be a video about whatever, I don't know. YouTube algorithm will choose it for you. And below will be my channel, so go click on that, subscribe, put the notification bell on so you know when I next upload a video, which should be on Wednesday. Goodbye.